Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Let us jump in here. I'm gonna just post this in a few different places, and then we'll jump back in. So give me 1 minute. All right, so Bitcoin is at just under its prior all-time high still. So we're at 57,592. How's everyone doing? As people trickle in, okay, we're at 57.6, but again, we're slightly below. We've just been coming in slightly below the prior all-time high. So the prior all-time high again is at 58,350. Okay, so we're just shy of that mark. We actually went pretty close to it yesterday. We went to around 58,136, and right now we're at 57,675. What's interesting, one of the things that I think is pretty interesting is how quickly, and we did a video on this, right? We did a video on this where we just talk about how quickly the market can change, and noting that it was literally only a year ago where we had that 40% drop on the March 12th, right? We had that 40% drop. So you see just how quickly the times can change, right? You see how quickly the entire sentiment of the asset class as a whole can change all the way down here, and now we've we've essentially just rocketed upwards over the last year. So in the future, when things are bearish, right? When things are bearish, just look back to this example, and you'll easily be able to identify how quickly the entire crypto asset, the asset class as a whole, can change. From the depths of despair to a nice bounce, a rally back to the 10K area, consolidation at 10K for a few months, finally a breakout to 12K. We came back down to 10K to test it as support, and then from there we just have liftoff, and we haven't really looked back since October. I mean, we've had a few corrections, right? We've had a few corrections here, but we really haven't looked back too much since October. We've mostly just been moving up, and so again, as we always say, we know that sentiment can change on a dime, right? Sentiment can change on a dime in crypto. So it's, in my experience, it's the people that stick around, that don't leave during the bear market. I mean, maybe they're not as involved in crypto as they were in the bull market, but they're regularly accumulating, right? They're still DCAing into the market. These are the people that tend to gain the most whenever the bull market does hit. So this is why I think it's important to consider those implications, right? It's important to consider the implications of, okay, we know that we're in a bear market when we're in this phase over here. That's the best time to accumulate. Just quietly accumulate. You don't really care about all these little bunny hills that form, and then you just wait for the bull market to happen. So hopefully that makes sense. If we pull up our rainbow, it's always interesting to pull it up and sort of see where we are on this chart. We've traversed many of these regression bands, and it seems like it's actually taken a little bit of time to load. So I'm not sure if we're gonna actually be able to look at it without it taking a very long time to load. But you can sort of see where we are in our regression rainbow. I'm not really sure. So it's sort of loading now. So we have moved up quite a ways back to the top of this band, right? And we've reached in the past. I gotta say, we've never gone back to a regression band from the cycle before. Okay, and I'm not saying it can't happen. Anything's possible, right? But again, we've never gone to the regression band of the prior cycle. In fact, we've never been to the two prior regression bands from the prior cycle. So it'll be interesting, because if we make it to the gray band, it'll be the first time that Bitcoin has made it to the band that's just under the prior all-time high band. I mean, there is some discrepancy. I mean, you could argue that we almost got to the yellow one, so maybe you should just count the yellow one and this one. But I mean, from a pure data perspective, we never made it to this regression band. So we'll see if we can make it there. This move does appear, so far, it appears a lot more, I mean, it does appear fairly impulsive. If we were to take a trend angle, it'll be interesting to see sort of what this angle is. So from sort of that takeoff, lift-off point, it was a modest 71 degrees. Remember, this is going to be dependent on your aspect ratio. And this one over here is also right around 71 degrees. So, and again, it'll change. You can see as you change your aspect ratio, that angle will be contingent on or dependent on the aspect ratio. But you can see that, in fact, the rate at which we were moving up, both in 2019 and over the last 6 months, was fairly similar. It's just that this time it's lasted a lot longer, right? And we keep sort of just chugging along. This one only lasted from March until July, which, I mean, was a decent chunk of change in terms of the time of this uptrend. It was about 88 days, but we know that this one has lasted longer than that, and we're currently at around 155 days. So far, it's lasted about twice as long as the move we had in 2019. By the way, if you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Definitely subscribe to the channel. Let's go for our 250,000 subscribers. We're currently at around 115,000 or 215,000. I'm not even used to saying 200. Yeah, we're at 215,000. Let's go for 220,000. Let's go for 220. So again, right now Bitcoin's at 57.6. So we're again just sort of flirting with that prior all-time high. And I imagine that if we are able to break through it, then things can get heated pretty quickly. And I mean, we'll be looking towards 60K and maybe a rally to 70K if in fact we're able to decisively break through 58. I mean, so far we keep coming up to it and getting shot back down. If we look at our sort of our prior top here, you can see how close we are to coming to it. Now, one thing we've noted in the past is that when you do approach a prior all-time high, it can take a while to break it, right? I mean, yes, we could get rejected and ultimately go back down, but there are a lot of times where it takes several tests to actually break through it. So this is just how the market works. What do you guys want to talk about? How's everyone doing today? Yeah, the subs are, I was looking at it, it's growing by about like 8,000 to 10,000 subs a day. It's crazy. I don't know how long that's going to be sustainable for, but it is quite some growth. Actually, I have a video. I'll release it in a few hours. It'll be my first dedicated video to Binance Coin. So, I mean, it is number 3 right now. We might as well bring it in and talk about it. We talk about Bitcoin, Ethereum, Link, ADA, and DOT. We also do talk about Uniswap. Uniswap is one of the ones that I said I think is going to be a player this cycle, and so we'll have more videos on Uniswap as well. We probably won't have very many videos on XRP or Litecoin or some of these other ones down here, but yeah, we'll have a video on Binance Coin. We'll release it here in a few minutes or maybe a few hours or so. Have we ever seen Bitcoin reach an all-time high after a 30% retracement and then dump back down? I mean, that's a good question. I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, we had this move over here back just a few months ago, right? Where I mean, it depends on what you're arguing is an all-time high. I mean, this was basically an all-time high, or is close to an all-time high. I mean, it was in 19.5, which was very close, within a percent or so. And then it dumped 16, 17%, and then went back up a little bit higher than it was over here, and then it still dumped back down another 12%. I mean, that's the most recent example of sort of trying to make it back. A lot of times we don't quite make it there, right? I mean, this is a great example of us sort of getting close, but then not actually making it, and you know, we sort of hit this area, came back up and hit it again. Again, we hit it here, and then here, and here, and then finally we got back above it, and then we sort of changed the trend. But in this situation, we did not make it to the prior all-time high before having that major correction again. I mean, back in 2017, Bitcoin went to like 20K or 19.5, 19.8K or so. Had like a 50% retracement, right? I mean, it dropped to like, I mean, on the wick, it dropped to like $10,000, I believe, on this wick, or this one was 6,000. This one was like 10,000 or so. But again, this is an example of it not making it. Actually, you know what? I think one example maybe was summer of 2019. Didn't it do something like that in the summer of 2019? It came fairly close to it. Like, so in the summer of 2019, we had a move to 14K. And then after we went to 14K, we dropped 30% throughout June. But then in July, we rallied back up. We rallied back up 37%, and we made it to within, if we had gone up another, I mean, this was a wick too, by the way. If we had gone up another 5%, we would have been at the prior all-time high. But then it still ended up dumping over the next several months. So, I mean, this would probably be a fairly decent example of it getting essentially back to the prior all-time high, but it not putting in a higher high. So I don't think it's smart necessarily to operate deterministically and to think that we're going to put in a new all-time high, but it's certainly something to be ready for. And if it does happen, then we'll probably start moving up relatively quickly. If I had to guess, right? If history is any indication on getting into price discovery mode for Bitcoin. Do I use R? No. No, I haven't discussed the Ethereum miner stuff, Sharp ratio, Monte Carlo. Yeah, we have that on the channel. How do I think the stimulus checks will affect the markets? I mean, it's not like every stimulus check's gonna go into the market, but I mean, I'm sure some people are gonna use their stimulus checks to buy some crypto. I mean, I don't know that it'll decisively make a huge difference, but I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. Can I talk more about my background? I mean, we've been doing the channel for about 2 years now, almost 2 years. Not even 2 years actually. 2 years in the summer. We started in 2019. Do I have any opinion on Tether and the possibility it can implode? Yeah, this is something, I mean, it shows up every market cycle, right? Every cycle everyone's talking about Tether. I agree. There's, but at the end of the day, it comes up every cycle. And by ever, I mean, it came up last cycle, it comes up this cycle, and so far it's just more or less the same. I think it's something that, like we'll talk about because it's always, in bull markets, there's always a reason to talk about what could stop it. But at the end, I mean, didn't they, I mean, I don't want to get into the specifics, but I think that a lot of times it probably gets blown out of proportion to some degree. But I would agree, I understand why people are skeptical, right? I mean, there's some stuff going on that would make people skeptical. But again, I don't think it's necessarily about to lead to an immediate implosion of the cryptocurrency asset class, if that makes sense, right? I think it's more likely to not happen than to happen. Yeah, I mean, I think the Tesla, the $1.5 billion Tesla purchase is what encouraged a lot of people to, I think it encouraged a lot of retail to FOMO in. I mean, it's not like Tesla's purchase is what caused the candle to break. It's not, Tesla's purchase was not doing this. I mean, this was just the news of Tesla's purchase, right? Tesla was buying like over here. It was just that they announced it, I think, over here, and that's when I think retail FOMO'd back in. But yeah, I don't. It wasn't Tesla's purchase that made that move. Tesla was buying over here, I believe, because I mean they released their average buy-in price, and it was, I believe, it was in the thirty to $40,000 range. It wasn't all the way up here in like the $42,000 range. Yeah, so someone says Bitcoin to 100K, Ethereum 2,000. Yeah, Ethereum's sort of dragging up the rear right now. I mean, I guess it makes sense, right? There's still a significant amount of Bitcoin volatility. It hasn't really settled down yet, and we know that when it doesn't settle down, Ethereum tends to bleed. We put out a video saying, right, I mean, just because this was a move up, we put out a video like a few days ago when we had, or a week ago when we had this candle, and we said, this is not necessarily going to be a decisive move to the top of the channel because we've seen these types of things before. It will ultimately depend on Bitcoin volatility. I would agree that Ethereum hasn't made an impressive move over the last few weeks. I mean, it's more or less just been doing much of nothing against Bitcoin for 3 weeks now. We also do know how quickly sentiment can change, and so I think we want to keep that in mind in terms of, yes, people will say Ethereum's dead, but it will wake back up at some point. I will say that, I mean, I don't know if it's about to break 2K or not. I mean, we could spend months potentially consolidating before 2K. I mean, it's possible we spend months below 2K. But in terms of the duration of the entire market cycle, I think that 2K, less than 2K, will still end up being sort of a distant memory, in a couple years. In the next few months, it's really anyone's guess, right? It's really anyone's guess, and it will be largely dependent on Bitcoin. I mean, if Bitcoin were to throw a curveball our way and to drop 40% like it did last year, I mean, a 40% drop would take us down to $34,000, which would coincidentally also basically take us down to the bull market support band. So I'm not saying that we're going to get a 40% drop, but you always have to be ready for 40% drops. And if that were to happen, then we know Ethereum's not going to be breaking 2K in the short term, right? So, by the way, the bull market support band for Ethereum right now it ranges from 1069 to 1177. So, if you see Ethereum dropping down to this level, it might present a key opportunity. A nice opportunity, in fact, to potentially reload, right, if you took some profits. With that said, I mean, I still have very high hopes for Ethereum this market cycle, and I think it will do quite well. We just have to take it 1 week at a time, right? Let's take it 1 week at a time. As I've always said, I do think time is on our side. We're going to have corrections, but at the end of the day, time is on our side, and let's go 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time, and we'll walk through the cycle together. There will be scary times, I'm sure there's going to be some streams where I come on and everything's down 30%, 40%, and people are going to be saying, oh, I thought the cycle was going to continue on for a long time, and here it is, we're down 50%. Remember that this would be fine. I mean, this is fine for the market cycle. We've seen that many, many times before. So just keep that in mind. When we have that happen, it's not the end of the world. Just we'll stay disciplined. And again, a lot of people do these things where they take profits at like the worst possible time, like when it's capitulating all the way down here, well below the 20-week. Generally speaking, that's not a great time to sell, right? You want to sell into some level of strength potentially, not capitulating on a wick. Peter says March has only closed green 2 out of 9 times for Bitcoin. I was actually looking at that, I think, I was looking at that maybe a few weeks ago. It is interesting if you look at monthly candles, because this could be 6 monthly candles in a row that are green for Ethereum. And for Bitcoin, I mean, for Ethereum and Bitcoin, right? I mean, everyone says Ethereum doesn't do anything. Look at these monthly candles. I mean, in October, it was 357. In November, it started at 386. In December, it started at 614. In January, it started at 738. In February, it started at 1313. And in March, it started at 1400 or so. So the idea that Ethereum's not doing anything is simply not true. It's just people being impatient because it has been moving up relatively quickly. If you look at monthly candles for Bitcoin, we have 6 monthly candles in a row that are green so far. Obviously, we don't yet know if the one for March will stay green or not, right? There's a chance that it ends up not staying green if we had a sizable correction or something, if we went to like the 20-week moving average. But the funny thing is, if to find another time in history when we had 6 green monthly candles in a row, you have to go back pretty far. The bull market, or maybe the bear market rally, whatever you want to call it over here, was 5 candles in a row. The last cycle, here we had 5 candles in a row. Here was 3. We had 4. During the last bull market, there was not a single time when Bitcoin had 6 monthly candles in a row that were green. Not a single time in the last cycle. In fact, in order to find the last time, you have to go to 2013, and not even at this peak, because this one was only 5 in a row. So to find 6 in a row, you have to go here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have to go all the way back to November of 2012. Started it, and we had 6 green monthly candles in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's been 9 years or so since we had 6 monthly candles in a row that were green. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I think I think at the end of the day, there are too many people that think that the market's only going to go up, and so at some point there will be a nasty correction. We will have a couple red monthly candles, and people are probably going to be very fearful at that time. But for now, the momentum is on our side. We'll see how high the momentum can ultimately take us. Giovanni's calling me just a kid on YouTube. All right. Khan says, Benjamin, how do you handle the psychology of selling? I took profit and sold 50% of a coin that did 40x. That coin is still going up, and I knew it would, but I wanted to be safe in Ethereum diversifying. I think this is a great strategy. Don't worry about squeaking out every single profit, right? If you can take some profits off the table, it's about your risk-adjusted returns, right? If it helps you sleep better at night, there's nothing wrong with taking profits on the table, maybe putting into something, if you want to take profits off an altcoin and throw it into Bitcoin, throw it into Ethereum, throw it into a stablecoin, I think this is a good strategy. Like, it's a winning strategy. And yes, during a bull market, you might sell some and it could continue going up, but there will come a day where the entire altcoin market will probably retrace by like 70 to 80%. And then you'll feel like a genius, and then you'll look back and know that you were doing the right thing. Until then, you might have this nagging feeling of, oh, I wish I just held on to my entire stack. But I think there's a lot of truth into slowly taking profits, DCAing out of the market slowly, leaving yourself enough room so that if the market trends higher, you still will benefit from that, right? You don't want to. I mean, I think we still have a long way to go this market cycle, right? Like I feel like if we look at where we are in this cycle, I feel like we still have a long way to go. But that doesn't mean that you can't occasionally take profits and take a little bit off the table so that if there is a major correction, you can benefit from it. So I think you're doing the right thing. It's not financial advice. I would not worry. If you take profits off the table off a coin that did 40x and then it goes up another 2x, think about the risk on that 2x, right? You'll get that 2x somewhere else. If something's up 40x, the chances it goes up another 2x to get you to 80x is pretty risky. If you take some money off the table and put it into something else that hasn't gone up 40x in the last 3 months, then that going after that new 2x is probably going to be less risky than sticking to a coin that is just going through the roof. Now, you could argue that momentum is more likely to carry this other coin, but again, we also have seen projects that go up 50x, 100x, and they have 60% retracements, right? So then whenever that happens, then you'll be happy that you were taking profits. Sorry, I'm just checking something really quick. Um, so hopefully that made sense, right? Hopefully that sort of strategy made sense, right? If you're new to crypto and you're sitting on altcoins that are up, 50x, 80x, something ridiculous. Again, there's nothing wrong with taking some off the table, right? I mean, you don't. That's not to say that you can't keep some of your position, right? But there's nothing wrong with taking some of that off the table and letting the rest ride, right? It's only life changing money once you take profits, right? It's theoretically life changing money up until that point. Once you take profits, it then can become life changing money. So make sure you understand the difference there. And just manage. I would say manage it according to your own risk tolerance, right? If you're just all in on one altcoin, you have to consider that if the market were to crash and that altcoin crashes, then your profits could disappear. I think slight diversification is key, but over diversification is probably a problem in crypto. Like I think over diversification is not good, but I do think that slight diversification can be good. Andy says, "Sorry, Ben, but I think Lat Link is past its prime." These are funny comments. I mean, like it's when you look at these narratives that people try to push, right? It becomes somewhat comical, and the reason is because these people don't understand that things don't just move up every single day. You look at the Link chart. Like what rational person could look at this chart and say decisively that, oh yeah, Link has passed its prime, right? I mean, it's done nothing more or less than go up against USD for a long time. I mean, in 2018 it was at 20 cents. In 2019 it was around $1.45 at the low. In 2020 it capitulated back down. A year ago the price was 134. The price was 134 a year ago. We're looking at a 20x basically in 1 year. In 1 year, a coin did 20x, and this guy's gonna say that Link has passed its prime. These are narratives, right? These are people that they get emotional on these short term moves. They get impatient, right? They get super impatient with the market. These narratives are not going to do you guys any favors. So you stick to the data. You look, see, okay, well, Link continues to perform. Yes, it has pullbacks. Yes, it rides the 20-week moving average. Yes, it sometimes goes below it. But for the most part, it stands the test of time, right? It stands the test of time. And so I've said before that as long as Bitcoin is volatile, Link isn't going anywhere in terms of a major move against Bitcoin, right? So I would say what I'm sort of looking for with Link is hopefully Bitcoin volatility will sort of calm down by this summer, and we'll get a nice summer bubble for Link. But until then, I think it's more or less just playing in the sandbox. Yes, it can trend up or down. Maybe it can go to $20. Maybe it can go to $40. But I don't think it's going to make a run at, say, $100 until Bitcoin volatility decisively calms down and we're not putting in new all-time highs every month. How stable are stablecoins in the case of a market crash? Well, I mean, you can just go look at CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko, and you can look at their price history, and you can see their average fluctuations. What's the maximum amount of coins you should own to maximize profit? I really like having I like having the majority of my positions in 5 coins. So again, the majority of my positions are in Bitcoin, Ethereum, Link, ADA, and DOT. But then I also have positions in some other coins like Avalanche, Uniswap, and a few others. So I think maybe optimal is if maybe 5 coins, maybe 5 to 6 coins, and then maybe a few more that you just sort of have you sort of have your foot in the door on them, where you have a token amount of money in them, so you're sort of tracking what they're doing. Maybe you're earning interest on them, but you're not betting the family farm or anything like that on them. I would say ideally maybe 5 to 6. But you could argue that maybe having smaller positions and up to 10 coins or so is still reasonable. But I would say somewhere between maybe like 5 to 10 coins is optimal. Probably the lower the better, right? I mean, a lot of the coins behave very similarly, right? Link performs very specifically against Bitcoin, which is why I like Link. ADA has a very well-defined move against Ethereum, but there's a lot of coins that move like this against Ethereum, right? Where they have these local bottoms and local tops. So if you're just sort of looking to ride some of these moves over the macro scale, and you can look at, say, like things like VeChain's valuation against Ethereum and see that it also does sort of something similar. So if VeChain is coming up here, you might consider that as an opportunity to take some profits or something back to Ethereum if the VeChain evaluation were to do that. It's not really necessarily knowing what will happen, it's just reacting to whatever does happen, right? I think is more important. If all the stimulus money is spent on Bitcoin, would it go to 150? I mean, all the money is not going to be spent on Bitcoin. I mean, you have to consider that a lot of people don't invest in crypto, right? They're probably just gonna. I mean, a lot of people are gonna put it in the stock market, and you also have to consider too that, I mean, yeah, like it's a decent amount of money, but it's not necessarily gonna send Bitcoin to 150K. I'm not saying. I mean, I do think that Bitcoin will go to 100 to 200K this market cycle, but I don't think the stimulus check is gonna get it there. By the way, if you guys are looking for a Telegram channel, we have almost 24,000 people. It's growing like crazy. I'll post it in the chat. You guys should check it out. So check out the Telegram channel if you feel so inclined. And then I'll remind you, we also have the premium list altcoin season sale. We'll end that in a few days here. But if you guys want to lock in the lower rate, you can do that. All right, I'm on dad duty. So, yeah. What other questions do we have? I can't really touch the screen now because I'm feeding my 4-month-old. I should make it so that it's not so obvious that I'm feeding him and you can't really see him, and then after like 5 minutes I'll just like lift him up and be like, well, where'd that baby come from? My wife is taking our 2 older kids to swim lessons. They have swim lessons on Friday, so then this one's too young for swim lessons. Yeah, someone would say he's too risky not to hold, right? Yeah, now I'm wishing we had this on a different time frame than the monthly, because now we can't really see anything except for the price. All right, let's just switch this over and see sort of what we're looking at. Yeah, I mean, we'll see if we can go back into price discovery mode. We're about $1,000 shy, right? We're about $1,000 shy of it, so we'll see what happens. Yeah, I think he's a toddler hodler or a hodler toddler. I don't know. Opinion on a huge ADA pullback on huge. I mean, are you saying you already consider that to be a huge pullback, or are you saying do I think a huge pullback will happen? Because I mean, one thing we know is that even in bull markets, we will likely have 50 to 60% pullbacks for altcoins. it's hard to know exactly when they're going to happen. I mean, generally they're going to happen whenever Bitcoin has a massive pullback. Like if Bitcoin were to pull back 30 to 40%, then altcoins will probably pull back 60%. Now, where would a 60% retracement take us for ADA? From the top, a 60% retracement would take us back down to 60 cents. And the only reason I say 60% is because we've seen Ethereum have 60, 70% retracements in the last market cycle, but it still went up over 1,000x, right? So if you look at Ethereum's valuation, it had 70% retracement. So we know it's possible. We know these things are possible. So I could certainly see, I would not be surprised. But if Bitcoin goes back into price discovery mode, then we'll continue singing Kumbaya for a few more weeks as we just sort of rake in the profits from Bitcoin, and then the altcoin slower appreciations, because they won't appreciate very quickly against Bitcoin if Bitcoin's in price discovery mode. But if the same game continues, right? It's just the same game over and over and over. All right. Well, I probably need to head out. We can't. I can't do the video and hold him. So, hopefully you guys found the live stream useful. We talked about a few different things. But yeah, maybe we'll wrap it up. Make sure you guys subscribe. Definitely subscribe to the channel. Give the video a thumbs up. You can check out the Telegram channel in the description below. Turn on the alerts. Let's go for 250,000 subscribers. And there's also the premium list. You can find a link to the altcoin season sale in the description below. All right, guys. Why don't we end it there so that I can actually attend to him. I mean, I think he's into Bitcoin for sure. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. I gotta go. See ya.